Thank you so much for being here. Polina here, talking to you a little bit about the lunar eclipse, the total lunar eclipse happening very soon on the 8th of November. As you can see, I am currently in costume inspired by Halloween on a level. Please have a look at my new channel and at this and other characters that I talk about in my recent video. So let's talk to you about the moon. I'm feeling it. It's going to be a very crazy little number for some people that are not ready to let go and to re-identify. So for me and many other psychics and astrologers online, there has been a change of pace and a change of time. I felt this at the same time as other people have predicted this. Soon after the death of the Queen of England, there was a very interesting shift in energy, and I definitely felt like a pyramidal structure or a certain type of universe was falling, and another one was self-creating. Also, some other astrologers and psychics have been talking about the death of Baphomet or the death of the system and a coming of an end. And yes, there was another psychic that my partner listens to, and he's a Spanish man, and he was saying that we have had apocalypse, and apocalypse has come to an end. And then on the specific date, the same day that I felt there was a change, I'm serious, I know this doesn't look very serious, but it's serious. I felt like there was a crumbling, and as if the pyramid was no longer there. The pyramid, the pyramidal structure, or the culture. And he said that now is the start of Armageddon, which is the battle, and I'm not really sure what that is. So in terms of how I see it as a psychic, I think there is just an inner voice that is coming through, and I've seen this for many months, especially starting with October, September, October. There was a new green shoot in society, and I'm feeling that there is a newness that this tiger year should be culminating with now, a newness and a sureness, and also a greenness or a freshness. Now, the way that I see it, it's very easy to understand this moon if you understand what is fresh, new, and sincere in your world, and what are the truths. What are the different true spirits or characters waking up inside of you? Where are you going? And where are those maybe juvenile or those fresh beginnings taking you, even if they are a little bit distorted by the current time, even if it is really hard to still say yes and no in the right direction, even if it's really difficult to understand yourself or your heart, your self-identity or your mind during these types of times. It's a very, very good and phenomenal question and answer time, I feel, for quite a lot of us. And if you've got yourself together in your heart, this is a very easy window. So everything that has been burdening you and sitting there and waiting for you and growling at you might just go. So that means a place where you shouldn't have been, a job that you shouldn't have, a partner that doesn't understand you, or just a person that doesn't want you near, might naturally close down. So if you have a certain type of vulnerability or a certain type of creative connection to sort of like juvenile, fresh, and modern consciousness, you might actually lose everything just in time to get on the plane or just in time to catch the bus and go to the next frontier. So I'm here lining up at that new frontier. So what is that new frontier? If you've always wanted to let your freak flag fly, if you've always wished to be one of those people, if you always wish to be in the midst of that which is that next world, if you had a dream or if you wished to be able to voice yourself, a lot of us are free enough and global enough and capable enough to be now at the forefront of this timeline. So I think that there is a certain type of disheartening that happens sometimes, especially if you thought you were something that you were not, or if you were bound by a certain type of story or industry or way of life that inevitably became a cage, or that inevitably became something that is not of you or not of your heart or not of your story. And I think it's really important for a certain type of personality to break through during the cycle and see it as real. It's like, I wasn't actually just this, I was also that. Or like, this is not how I truly thought about my life. This is the way that I truly, fully thought about my life. And yeah, a lot of our past, I feel, has to be revisited and spoken of more maturely and maybe more primitively for some of us to be able to get to the crux of where is that largeness, large change needing to occur. Where do you really want to change or break through? Because some of us are masters in our lives and we can even force this light or the spectrum of change to walk into specific places in our world. So sometimes it's really good to be mean. It's like, wow, my house is overgrown with stuff I don't want. I'm just going to go and buy all those cleaning products and I'm going to put everything outside so people can buy it or just grab it. You know, I'm going to make a garage sale. I'm going to go and see the doctor now. It's karmic, it's tired. You know, I'm tired of having this pain in my back, or I'm just so tired of having no money, or I'm so tired. So this like scream can direct the energy to shine into a space that is just full of shadow, full of stillness, and full of decay, opening up a wound, you know, going directly towards new technologies, changing your life. The bright, fresh new world is here, okay? Moon conjunct North Node and Uranus here in Taurus. There is a bright new vision and version of you that is ready and helpful and healthy. It is just so very difficult if you've been holding back. So shining the light on that which you've been hiding. I suspect most people that listen to astrology have a lot that they've been hiding, sometimes in their bodies or their minds or their nervous system or their past, and they don't want anybody to know about it, or they don't want anybody to see. It's like, I've got a backlog of information here, or I've got like an infestation, or like I've got, I don't know, like this part of my body that just doesn't want to work with me, or this part of my psyche I cannot get my head around. And that's very, very easy here. So basically what you do is you imagine this moon as a kind of incredible, incredible torch, and you're shining it upon that which needs fixing. And don't be afraid of it. So Tiger year, we are almost at the end of it here, is really beautiful and good if you are courageous enough to just shine that light and to be no longer, how can I say, neutral about things that you shouldn't be neutral about. So the worst thing is when people think it's normal. It's like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna die young, or like, I'm gonna get fat. It's okay. Like, I don't really need anybody to see me. Don't shame me. I'm fine as I am, you know, and all of this kind of like sensitivity, like a lot of people have that. It's like, oh, don't worry about me, just don't look at me, or like, I don't want anybody to know what I'm going through. That's really hard. These people are going to find it the hardest. People that have been growing things inside their bodies or growing things in their lives that they don't want, and then they're like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, just go, don't worry. That's really, really hard. You know, that's really hard also for me to see that in other people. It's really difficult for me to see people that have ongoing problems and they don't want to fix them, or they have like certain experiences and they don't want to talk about them. And now is probably the time to just grab it and go. So it's a very grab and run energy. Mercury is next to the sun. There's a sprightliness. There's sprightliness to this energy. Changes are really, really fast. You know, things can happen at a drop of a hat. It's like momentary question marks replaced by a sudden change or a sudden urge to change your life. Quick snips, like surgeries might take just like seriously a few minutes sometimes, or half a day. Surgical procedures last as an effect. You know, things can take very little time, or have a very short impression and then have a very long lasting effect. Sometimes words you say or things you think or imagine might be with you later on in time. So we also have to protect you from fighting. So a lot of people, I imagine, would definitely want to teach somebody a lesson during this time. I imagine that a lot of people during this time want to be known for something they're not necessarily needing to be known about. We have Saturn measuring here at a square to the sun and to the moon. So there's going to be a very big wake-up call in these fixed signs for some of us. I don't think that a lot of people need to necessarily be a product of a certain type of demise. There's a lot of fancy stuff being replaced by really drab stuff. So like going to a very fine restaurant and then having a phenomenal check to pay afterwards. You know, like doing some very, very fun things with a friend and then being punished for those things. So the idea basically is to be free and to be also broken away from maybe the system or the media that you don't want to be a part of. So breaking free. If you don't want to be fresh and clean and new, you might be able to cling on somewhere. So, Klingons, for example, I don't want to just be who I am. I want to find myself a job or a dad or a father figure or some kind of melancholic mother figure to be able to take care of me. Just a sec. So, there's a charger. So, the only thing that basically is left here to do is to understand, I feel, the nonsense that we've been subjectified to and that we've been subjectifying ourselves to, and not heal through that again and again. So like the worst thing right now is to find yourself an agent or an author to your story. The wake-up call is going to be very huge for people that are waiting for somebody else to take responsibility, speak for them, market them, or help them along. Yeah, so in terms of like having a daddy or a father figure or some kind of like a parent helping you along at the moment would be very, very harsh. So also, especially the relationship between father and daughter or mother and son or just parents or children is going to be, I think, a big question mark in a lot of people's lives, and their psyche and their ego and their inner processes, and also just in their world, and their words and actions are going to change. So there's going to be a very large question, I feel, about what is going to happen to some of us, who we are becoming, who we become already, or who we're going to be later on. Also in terms of like humility, pain, shame, recognition, there are going to be so many people asking and answering really big questions here, and also money, phenomenal money, and also phenomenal changes in financial and knowledge-based systems, freedom systems for some, only because you've asked the big question. I think that the person that is courageous enough and sometimes also painful enough or emotional enough to question life, to question reality and the rigidity of the law systems, or like the system of a university or a system of a school or a system of a country, or like a system of question marks, is going to turn out great. So if you have the ability and the capability of asking and answering some very huge life questions, I think is going to lead you directly to success. I feel also that the questionable or the questioning archetype, and also the people that are unafraid of believing in something new and working out a new raw and maybe painful but fresh system, is going to be probably the best case scenario. Full moon eclipse in Taurus here with Scorpio sun. I mean, this is like peeling an onion or peeling a cabbage. And if you imagine, you know, if you have enough empathy to imagine what it would be like for a vegetable to be peeled, it's kind of like this, you know, all of these fresh and fresher levels and layers come up. And I've talked about this time earlier in the previous videos being kind of like a Pandora's box of question marks and also huge gifts. It's like unpacking some gifts, and not all of it is nice. You see, like not everything is just nice on a beautiful platter for you, as Taurus might like. So also have to say that usually moon in Taurus is a very lucky one. People that have second house moon are very lucky people. And also usually people with yeah, I have moon actually in the adjacent house to my sun, so adjacent star sign to my sun. So that is also very lucky. So say, for example, I'm a Libra with moon on Scorpio, super lucky for me. So also, for example, if you are a Taurus, moon in Gemini, very lucky for you. So that secondary moon is very nice. But you see, this is with an eclipse in mind. So a lot of us don't really know what to do, what to be after. So sometimes there are karmic changes and huge diversifying energies happening here. Things scatter out, and also how you've seen yourself before isn't probably how you're going to see yourself now. Or there is a comical wonderland of change happening with Uranus being directly next to the moon, and Sun being away from, the Venus being away from the moon at an opposite. So opposing Venus, Mercury, Sun, opposing the Moon. So like what is going on there? I feel that a lot of where we find beauty, peace, and pleasure, because Venus, you see, she usually likes Taurus. She likes to be in Taurus, but in Scorpio, not so much. So where we find delightfulness, where we find clarity, where we find universality, or the natural laws to be, might now have to change or skip a beat. So that might mean that where you are feeling good and how you feel in yourself might be in trouble, or it might be going through a well-needed change. Also, Uranus across from Mercury and Sun is a very interesting phenomenon. So he's not going to be very happy there. He is speculated on. So Uranus being across from the Sun and Mercury specifically isn't going to be an easy change, but it's going to be super quick. It's just like feeling under pressure. It's feeling like under a microscope, under a looking glass, you know, because some people have to now change because it is just not gonna be easy. It's like squirming. It's like having this pressure on you and just squirming around it and having to shift into a completely new dimension. So some people have a huge, very interesting cause and effect because of what you've been doing for a long time, because of your family traumas or karmas or energies, because of certain vibrations or positions in life, because of how you used your money before, because of how you used your power before, because of certain way that you've been living your life and the timelines that you have had the pleasure or the opportunity, you know, to experience. There's going to be a needed question mark Saturn at an aspect to both Sun and Moon here, of course, stelliums in both Taurus and Scorpio. There's going to be a kind of a way to forge it and merge it into something else, but it's going to be so tough if you aren't able to just see the forest for the trees, if you aren't able to be you. So if you want, I mean, this is a very big spiritual practice, though I don't think people see it as anything spiritual. See the truth that you have inside. So this is not about like, I'm going to pray and I'm going to say this mantra 100 times and it's going to deem me free, like that. Or I'm going to say Jesus' name many times and he's going to break me out of this. In some cases, this is like magic spells, you know, magic spells. In some cases it does work and it does bring about some interesting ideas and design. Sorry about that, if you didn't expect that. But in a lot of people's energies, a lot of people's realities, I think, is going to start to cave. So in the person, there's always a lot. Everything that you've ever said, done, and been a part of is inside of you. And this reality that you're experiencing is it. It is also infinite, but you can't just block off, erase, and go, nah, 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 to anything that you've been, said, or done. So we are, in a way, looking at a certain type of dealing. So the judgment card in the tarot. And yeah, in a way, it's kind of like Armageddon inside of a person's mind, inside of their soul. All of that which you've ever done, everything you ever did, everything you ever said, everything you have been a part of, all of that which you've been partnered with and partnered through, every kind of cause and effect that you've experienced and have also forsaken in your life, all of that you're doing now is kind of like starting to merge into this grand, big ego, maybe for some, and maybe, yeah, that's it. And in that is something else, and something else, and something else, a Pandora's box, so merging all these parts of your karmic residues and personalities and things you can't shift or couldn't have shifted in Libra. See, I told you guys, you know, see your karmas, you know, in Libra. Now it's going to get stronger and stronger. It's like an octopus, you know, because we're going through this really hardcore stuff. Sorry about that. And the sun in Scorpio is like a paradox. So we're going into this Pandora's box and we're opening up kind of like layer after layer and seal after seal, in a sense, as shared and broken. Don't be afraid. It's not a biblical thing. It's just, you know, karma's being able to forge in the end into a certainty. So here is where this needs to really be understood. We are still in fixed sign. Yes, we are going through transformation. Yes, we're going through miracles. There is change, there is feelings, but this isn't a honey-coated, fun little game. You know, at the end, you see, we have a nice simplification, but it's not just this. We have a tight ball of energy that we're left with at the end. So the product is tight, good, and packed. So what does this bring me to? There are people that could be under the eyes of the law. Some people might be in trouble for something they've said or done. Some people might be held accountable for something that they've done very, very, very intensely. Some people might be found out for things that they shouldn't have said or done or been. There are going to be some of us, in a way, blocked off from certain people. It's a kind of little quarantine happening on another level. There's going to be people going also for a completely different mission or vision in life. There's going to be probably a position in life that some people have now that is totally apart from other people, or apart from their previous layer. It's like the SCOBY is peeling into different levels and parts. If you know what kombucha is made of, you know the SCOBY. It's like all of these levels are going to eventually disappear, and there's going to be probably just the one reason to live. There's going to be the one thing, or just the one sentiment, and is going to inevitably bring us into the energy of Orpheus between Scorpio and Sagittarius eventually. And as we are almost, as we're building up Sagittarius, is going to be like, this is my truth, or like, this is it, and that's going to be very powerful. So it's like a very, very potent brew. Also, I talked a little bit about brewing things in Scorpio. Things that you have had sitting there under the surface for ages could now have come to a nice conclusion. So this is like beer, this is like wine, it's like cheese, it's like kombucha, this is like fermented goods. So things start to make shape and create a certain type of flavor. So how good is your flavor? It depends. It's up to you. So if your book is not very well written, sometimes it's because it doesn't have enough depth. If you don't have enough energy in your body or enough consciousness in your body, maybe it doesn't feel so good now. If you don't do very well at school, it might be very hard at work. It's kind of like that. So this maturity and this brewishness, basically now starts to be conscious and part of a larger format. So basically what we have now, as we are going to come into Sagittarius eventually, and that energy of Orpheus, we're going to have to recognize, maybe better sooner than later, what it all means in the end. So like this feeling of a plaque or a trophy, or a feeling of a label or a brand or something that is stable and stiff, it's like a brand of maturity. It's like, the sash for getting the first prize, or like the trophy that you later put on your table. If you want, you can research also Vedic astrology. In this place here is the nakshatra for the eldest or the wisest, the space between Scorpio and Sagittarius. And in a way, it is connected to Krishna as well. I mean, I could talk about this, but we probably don't need to. So like the idea of the leader, or the most human, or like the most wisest of all people, or the most adequate of all people is there, so that face of Rama, the perfect man, Krishna, the sweetest, the most attractive man, is landing in this area that we call Orpheus, the expert. So we are building up to a nice tag or label. So before you go on your journey in Sagittarius, before you go on exposing yourself to new and different things, and you go away from your center and research all of these different ways of life, or all of these beautiful things that life could be, before you go on escaping yourself in a way, which is what Sagittarius is about, escaping yourself through stimulus that is a communicative sign. Understand what you've come to so far, and what this coming of age may be later on in time. Also, we have to understand how things look from a distance, how things look later on in time. So like the whole thing about the whole thing about Scorpio energy also is to basically make you look and feel good eventually, and see good and seem good and understand how things are and accept and respect them as they have landed. So for example, ending up in prison, you have to respect that. So for example, ending up with an injury, you have to respect that, understand it. Or like landing yourself a job that you never thought you would land, or being with certain karma or a certain place in society. I mean, here this depends on you. So we are looking not just at a global pattern of labels, systems, and pride, winning the prize. It's not just that. This all depends on how you have brewed up as a person. What did you amount to? What did you amount to? That is so scary to imagine. What did you actually become? So this is about your, anything, anything, like all participation. But then inevitably it comes to a certain, it comes to a certain certainty because of this aspect, because of Saturn being in between Sun and Moon and Aquarius. You see, this is a very hard time also, I think, for me and a lot of other people to understand. We have Fortune on the DC almost in Virgo there. Things have to end, certain things have to end. I hope you're not hiding anymore. I hope you can talk about your true feelings and your true courage, your true charisma. I hope that you can accept the full quantum or the full multicolored person that you have become without censoring yourself, without trying to be anything that you're not. I feel that we have to come out of our costumes. I feel that we have to come out of our prehistoric understandings of what God and spirituality is. I also believe and trust we have to stop fooling ourselves in the other people as to what to do and how to be. I feel that we have to come out of superstition and hopelessness and finding hopes in places where it couldn't live, and also objectification of oneself and each other, and start to really understand what our own individual lives have boiled down to. It's the brew. It's like mead, like wine. You're looking at yourself for every single flavor, aroma, gesture, emotion, word, feeling, karma, sentiment, illness, luck, genius that you have in your life. So try not to confuse you with anybody else here. The portfolio of your life is infinitely seen by all people. It's just not obvious. It's like it's not obvious. So like that's the thing, is trying to make it more obvious to yourself as to how far you've come. And even though there are no way places, like no way chances, sometimes things happen if you are true. So you just have to be honest. And I wish you the best of luck. And I hope that you dream the best dream and accept yourself for the entirety of who you are, and not just count on external sentiments of other people or external experiences to somehow happen to commemorate your coming of age. It's not about the biggest flower, it's not about the biggest boat, it's not about the biggest prize. It's actually just about the formative energy, the forming of you. So thank you very much. I hope you had a fun day today. I hope you have a lot of energy and glee coming up to this time. I hope that you don't feel so down anymore. If you want, check out my new channel, although I know it's scary for some. I know. I know it's a little scary. Let's put the hands in there. I know it's a little scary. You like? No? Okay. I know it's a little scary, but I invite you to my other YouTube channel where I actually do what I want to do. And I make funny music and things as well. I'm going to now hypnotize you into visiting my other YouTube. If you like, okay, I'm sorry. If you like, okay, check out. I actually can dance good. I can sing good as well. Just check it, like, you know, what people get up to in the day, you know. So they're not all like philosophy, you know, like sometimes we've got to like also grow as humans and actually do something about this life. So yeah, I painted this thing, you know. I don't know. I hang off this rope and I like do like kind of sort of gymnastics and stuff, you know. Yeah, if you like, have a look and also have a look at the book for the year. It's not very professional, Pauline, I know. So yeah, please check it out. It's very nice to be oneself and to be obvious about what one is and was and always has been. Please have a look. And also, please don't be afraid to share yourself with yourself or another person during this time, because there is nothing more tasty than the truth. Thank you very much. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.